Welcome to the Husky Hockey Podcast, your number one resource for all things Husky hockey, NCHC hockey, college hockey, the whole kit and caboodle. We got it right here. Weldy in with Andrew, talking college hockey, and I got just one quick question for you, Andrew. In the grand scheme of things, one weekend off from COVID, getting it canceled, is that better or worse than having a goalie, your starting goalie, bolt midway through the season?
I think I take the off week.
Yeah, a little bit of rest, I think is good. So, yeah, big news with Jack LaFontaine bolting the Gophers and signing for the pros at Carolina. We'll touch on that a little bit, but first, let's go ahead and talk a little bit of Huskies hockey, get some of that business out of the way. And it was a cancellation, or a postponement is what the official word is right now. I haven't had any word of makeup dates. Era of COVID, and with cases kind of spiking, it's getting more and more common. I mean, not just college hockey and professional hockey, and I don't know if we're going to see this going to be made up, but I hope it does, because actually four games in a matter of 8 contests overall to end the season against Duluth, that'll get my blood pumping. That's for sure.
Yeah, it will, and especially with these two teams at 4-5 right now. I mean, we could be looking at a playoff series on top of those games. Obviously, cancellation's never a good thing. Denver and Omaha also canceled this weekend, which was, that was slated as well.
And that was going to be on CBS Sports too.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was a Friday or Saturday game. Yeah, I'm not sure which game was going to be the national game, but
so whatever game was going to be bumped anyway for an overtime college basketball game.
Unless maybe that was the basketball game was scrubbed for COVID. Who knows? But and Denver obviously being St. Cloud's opponent this weekend. We'll get into that later. But and this was not judging, because this could happen to any team. Could happen to St. Cloud. Knock on wood, it doesn't. But this was on Duluth's end. That's where the COVID issues were from. You'd think just hope that this is the last cancellation. Again, maybe that's overly optimistic to think about it, to think at this point. But you'd have to think, especially in conference play or really in any series, it's the easiest to make it up against Duluth, because it's a 2-hour plus drive each way, which in college hockey terms is like right next door. So obviously I did see that there is the possibility of pushing back the home Western series to the week after. So I think the 10th or 11th and 12th of February. Right now that series between St. Cloud and Western is at the first weekend in February, the 4th and 5th. Western has the 11th and 12th off, as do the Huskies at this point. You can move that series to the next weekend, and then play the Duluth St. Cloud series the 4th and the 5th, which Duluth has that weekend off right now. That's possible, but I'm sure Western has already booked the trip and hotel rooms and flights. It's going to be a pain for them to reschedule. That would be the best case scenario, because you're still playing on a weekend. But if that doesn't work, I would hope that weekday series, either just maybe single games twice, because again, it is the shortest trip possible between these two teams in the conference. I would hope that is the possibility. If they absolutely can't do that, which I don't know why they wouldn't, I would hope that St. Cloud gets
little bit of East Coast flavor here in Minnesota with the Tuesday night games.
Right, that's not totally uncommon on the East Coast, because you're playing, everyone's clumped together in a pretty small, relatively speaking, a smaller geographic area. Can't really do that in the West, when NCHC has teams in how many states? 5, 6 states. The reason the West doesn't have a ton of midweek games is for this reason. But you could do that. Like I said, you wouldn't be able to do this with CC. It would be a little tougher to do. But with Duluth, I think it is possible. Plus, it's like, everyone says, the college hockey needs to be like the NHL. ape the NHL in a lot of ways. I mean, the NHL, the just having it a Friday Saturday schedule. NHL plays every day of the week. They play 3-4 games a week. So get them ready to play in the pro type of schedule and throw in.
I mean, we're modeling college hockey. We're modeling college hockey
off of the NHL.
Anyway.
Correct. Or I was also gonna say if you just can't remake the games, give St. Cloud the home series at the end of the year instead of going up to Duluth. I mean, again, I don't think that anyone's trying to do this. I don't think unless they're flagrantly violating protocols, which I don't think is happening. So I'm not saying that you're punishing Duluth, but they were the ones that started this, and why do they get the 2 home games rather than St. Cloud if you can't make them up? So that last series of the regular season, put that at St. Cloud if you can't reschedule it. But I hope that and I think they will reschedule it. I'm confident that they will. So hoping to, because 4 games against Duluth is, they said if they can't remake or reschedule the games, then they're going to go by winning percentage rather than points, because then you have an uneven number of games played. Don't want to get to that point. But especially with these 2 teams going to be jockeying neck and neck the rest of the way, you'd think. Every game you play against them is vitally important. So really do hope that they make the games up. But yeah, it's a sucky situation.
That's kind of a good point. I mean, first off, colleges don't want to lose the game. I mean, this is rival teams. They're going to want butts in the seats, especially after not having that last. But, if you're not able to make the schedule work or the games, maybe switch that last season or the last series and switch that to a home and home. I mean, that should be fairly simple to do. So, but I like your idea of just putting in, some just kind of random Tuesday games and whatnot.
You probably have to do 2 of those. I don't think you're going to play back-to-back like a Tuesday-Wednesday series in between 2 other weekend series. They'll probably have to come down for a Tuesday and then 2 weeks later come down for another Tuesday. It was probably how I would do it.
I like it the other way, back-to-back series, 4 days. Just let's get nuts.
Then you'd have 6 games in 10 days. Because you'd have Friday, Saturday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, I know.
How many times I did that when I was in Pee Wee's?
I know Michigan's health department would never go for this, but
that's true.
But we're tougher in Minnesota.
Yeah. Another thing about Western Michigan here is they actually play in Duluth on the 28th, 29th of January. So the fact that they're already in Duluth on the 28th, 29th, and then they might right now the 4th and 5th.
Yeah, they might be staying in Minnesota the whole
They're
week. Probably
staying in
Minnesota. Yeah, so they're I mean, they don't have, this isn't their problem. It's like, why should they have to move mountains in order to make 2 other teams that's not them make their day happy? So
that's true, unless the point percentage kind of screws you and all of a sudden you're tasked with going, getting bumped down in the standing because of the points percentage.
Yeah, it's possible, and Western could be like, hey, we'll take the week off. We can go back home and get on a regular schedule and be there for we can take that week off and just come back to St. Cloud the weekend after. They could say sure, but I don't. That's a wrench in the plans. It's not so easy that they're just they don't have any say in this, I don't think. So, hopefully they can reschedule.
And we're speculating about all of this, assuming that all other games go without it.
Right. Yeah, you only have this for St. Cloud, and I think Duluth as well. You only have 1 off weekend the rest of the way. I mean, if we're going to move this series to that 12th and 11th and 12th of February, and again, knock on wood that no other games get canceled, well, then you don't got an off day until the week after the regionals and between, before the Frozen Four. So, I'm kind of surprised that the league.
You do have that day buffer in between games now.
Oh, that's true.
So,
yeah, I suppose I forgot about that. Surprised the league didn't maybe throw in another off weekend in the second half to just be on the safe side. But But who knows if that would have even mattered? It's a math problem as far as who's off, which opponent is off, and can you shuffle these other series around? And it's a cluster F, and so yeah, I'm just hoping that they can somehow get these games back on the schedule. And if
same here, because I mean this is a fun. I mean this is series I get up for. I know you hate Duluth a little bit more, shall I say, but not for. I don't know, like because you seem. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you just seem that you're just annoyed more than anything with Duluth.
Yeah,
how they're able to just squeak by on it.
It's not even. It's just that you can call it sour grapes or jealousy or whatnot, but I mean, they haven't had the type of program that says yes, back-to-back national titles. Like they're not that good. St. Cloud was better both of those years, and yeah, they crapped the bed against bad opponents when it mattered. But yeah, it's not like if they were a team that was clearly just this juggernaut. I don't think they were, but yeah, it's saltiness and it's not probably fair, but they do what they need to do when it counts. So there's a grudging respect that's growing. Maybe that's backwards. Maybe the national title should have forced me to do that, but yeah, they're a tough team, and yeah, it's always a fun weekend when you play them. Always very, very, very tight games, and so I was looking forward to it.
Very tight, very intense.
Yeah.
You can tell the players. Switching from the no series to a team that nobody likes, and that's Denver. So it's game this weekend at Denver. Consider if they are going to be, playing this again, their series also with Omaha was canceled. So, or postponed, or whatever you want to call it. So it's going to be, I don't know. I just, this game also is going to be, I believe this game's nationally televised. Is this?
Yeah, one of them.
Friday's game? Yeah, Friday's game's on CBS Sports. So, I just hope that the games get played. Denver is, I mean, maybe a little bit of a surprise. Maybe Schlossman was right at the beginning of the season, but they're a heck of a team. They've been scoring quite a little bit. I've got a couple of questions there, kind of sitting about their schedule and whatnot.
Not great.
They had a good stretch in there. You played the teams that are in front of you, you beat the teams that are in front of you, but you had that tough stretch where it was losses at Providence and Boston College, who Boston College especially hasn't been very impressive to anybody. And then you get swept up at North Dakota. But then they were able to rattle off sweeps of Western Michigan, Miami, Arizona State, and then that split again. So it's gonna be a tight series, and I don't know what to make of this Denver team. Things seem to be going in place for them right now, even with the tie against Alaska. That following along on Twitter at least, where Alaska was able to tie it up there late in the third, but obviously they were able to dominate. So it's a series that I'm looking for a little bit more jump from the Huskies to get out in front and really take it to Denver. Maybe a little bit of a surprise for them, and just kind of give them a little bit of a wake up. And their penalty kill has not been great this season. Under 75% with the Huskies power play. I expect that to be kind of the X factor. But I'm excited to dive a little bit more into this Denver team and actually see what we've got and see if they are for real. I did pick them to win the conference at the end of the year. Midway through the year when we were doing, I think they got the best road going up ahead. So we'll see. Kind of what's your kind of a quick take there on our next opponent with the Pioneers.
Yeah, they got a good offense. and a lot of that is they've beat up on the teams that they should beat up on. 4-0 against Arizona State. They blew Miami out of the building. That first game against Alaska, both games they were dominant against Alaska from puck possession standpoint. Very surprising that Alaska was able to salvage a tie out of that series.
4 games against Arizona State too.
Yeah, and in those games, 8 goals, 4 goals, 6 goals, 7 goals for Denver in each of those games, and so they've been racking up a lot of points. They got 5 guys right now over the 20-point mark. Comparison, St. Cloud just has 1 right now in Fitzgerald, but Bobby Brink is up there. I think he's top 5 in the nation in scoring with 26 points. They got that Savoy and Stapley play together. That's probably I'd say their best line. St. Cloud's struggled in Denver the last few years. Lost their last 6 games at Magnus. Haven't won there since 2015 when I was in the building, actually. But they swept that series that year. But so it's been 6 years since they've won a game in Denver. But that can certainly change. Magnus Corona, Huskies are familiar with him. He's been their starter for the last couple of years. Had some success with him last year. Just played him twice in the pod, and St. Cloud was able to beat him both times, 4-3 and 3-1. And I thought both of those games, the score was closer than the gameplay would lead you to believe. I thought St. Cloud played very well in those games, but Denver had an off year last year. Never was really able to gel. And what was the Schlossman theory? They weren't able to practice much together as a team last year. That's why they kind of had a hiccup of a year. Well, whatever they're doing this year seems to be going pretty well. I've been impressed with what I've seen. I do tend to check in on them as much as I can because they're generally the late game. Been seeing a fair amount of them, and yeah, they're going to be a tough team for the Huskies. I like the fact that they're both on the weekend, week off of. It's not like one team. It's not like the Huskies played where Denver got the week off. So that's kind of the rest issue is kind of equal across the board. Yeah, I might think that we're in for some higher scoring affairs. I like your prediction that special teams will be key. Wondering if that's going to be St. Cloud's kind of recipe. If that power play can continue to click upwards of 30%, they're going to be a very difficult team to handle the rest of the way, no matter who they play. But if that power play either regresses to the mean, or if teams make adjustments either on their penalty kill, or they don't take penalties against the Huskies, and then if the Huskies can't make up for that with some even strength offense, then it might be a tougher road to hoe for the Huskies from here on out. But I would be happy with a split this weekend. Going into Magnus and sweeping is easier said than done. And should say that Alaska tie, the last game out, that was the first non-win for Denver. 8-0-1 this year at home. So they've been very difficult to play, whether it's the altitude or whatever the factor is. It's always a difficult road trip for whoever goes in there. So if you win a game in Denver, you split a series, I think you're going to be more than happy with that. But that's, like I said, you're going to have to be the first team to go in there to beat them this year. So easier said than done. But I like how the Huskies played against Bemidji. Again, this is a step up in an opponent. But I like what I saw there, especially with Hentges. And if we get guys like Miettinen to wake up and produce like we thought they would, then I think the Huskies can match up fairly well with Denver. It'll be a fun series. I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's the big thing I'm going to watch also, other than the special teams and whatnot, is going to be the line matchup. And Larson is definitely going to try to get Herbix on the ice, at the same time as like with their top line with Carter Savoy and whatnot, because you see kind of the offense and whatnot really drives through a lot of what Savoy does. Gutman is the guy, at Husky, formerly verbally committed to St. Cloud State. And Ally switched over to Denver. And Stapley and Brink, they're able to just drive so much possession and so many chances, and you're going to just want your best defense out of there. Matt Carl is going to do everything he can to try to get those matchups
David
switched out. Oh,
his brother. It's an understandable mistake.
Understandable mistake. Yeah, so he's going to try, his best to get the best matchups. I think this might be the deepest defensive core that Denver has faced this year, so that might cause a little bit more struggle than they've faced so far. I'm going to be really interested to see those line matches. Jeez, the shooting percentage for some of these players. You got to think that's going to cool off sometime.
I'm seeing now that Savoy, who was stud freshman last year, probably their best scorer last year, and having another good year this year, 22 points in 16 games. Saw that he was out for the Alaska series. I'm wondering if he has some injury issues. And I'm just Googling now and not seeing anything. So, but yeah, that top line of if he is going to be healthy to go, Savoy, Brink, and Gutman. Denver always has, every couple of years they have a nickname line. What was it, the Pacific Rim? That might, I don't know if they've come up a name for this one yet, but that's a pretty damn good line. I wanna flag that to see if Savoy is gonna be healthy, because if he's out, it's a big loss for them. But they do have, I think, the reinforcements to cover that kind of loss. I mean, that means that Stapley's on their second line, and I thought he's a pretty good player himself. So, yeah, this isn't just a one-line team. But I'm assuming he's gonna be back to play, because I don't see any news that would claim he's not gonna be good to go. So,
I think he's gonna be good to go, because I'm just trying to look to confirm, but I believe he had COVID. So I think he was had to sit out because
he wasn't on the World Juniors, was he?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, he was forced to sit out during the weekend against Alaska due to COVID related.
Okay. Yeah, guessing he'll be back then. So
I think he would have started against Omaha or played.
And I remember last year, I think he scored. I mean, of the 5 goals they scored, he scored a couple of them in the games against the Huskies, and he was a very good player for him in the pod, even though they had a rough stretch.
The fourth round pick of Edmonton, so they got kind of a steal there.
Yeah, he scored 2 of the 4 goals for Denver against St. Cloud last year. So, yeah, it'll be a tough weekend, and like I said, I would be thrilled with a split, or be really thrilled with anything more than that, but don't want to get too greedy. And this is the only time you play Denver this year, so you don't have a return trip to St. Cloud. So, pairwise, at the very least, you don't want to take the 0-2 weekend.
Yeah.
So, if we could find a way to get a split out of this weekend or better, that bodes well for the Huskies going forward.
Right now, sitting in the pairwise, Denver sitting at 5th. St. Cloud State right now is at 3rd. 3rd, tied with Western Michigan in the pairwise, but St. Cloud State holds the tiebreaker over Western Michigan in the RPI, which obviously only makes sense considering Western Michigan beat the Huskies twice, right? That they would be ranked. Yeah, college hockey's. I try to explain college hockey and the pairwise to people, and it's just like, forget about it.
Yeah, you had that clump of NCHC teams all in that number 1 seed to high number 2 seed range. That trimmed out a little bit this weekend. If we want to transition to other stuff.
Hey, I am for anytime humiliating North Dakota.
That's where I was going. North Dakota, I think, was 4 or 5, somewhere in that range. They dropped down to 11. Got swept by Cornell at home. First home sweep in North Dakota in a couple of years. And those are always rare. I watched both of those games, and Cornell really late comeback on Friday night, 3-1 deficit.
They were down 3-1, right?
Yeah, and they got second goal about 10 minutes to go, and then they got 2 quick ones, maybe 6-7 minutes left to take the lead, and kind of stole one there on Friday. And I didn't think that North Dakota really showed up very much on Saturday. They did get the first goal, but then Cornell got the last 3, I think, 3-1 win. Yeah, without their coach on Saturday night. So a big series for Cornell. We talked about them last week. I had them out of my field because of their sweep against Arizona State. It's like, that's another thing about college hockey. So Cornell goes down to Arizona State, and they get swept. They go up to North Dakota, sweep North Dakota, and then Arizona State goes out to BU, who's having not a good year, and they just get their ass kicked. I don't know how you really square all those results and make any sense of it, but huge sweep for Cornell. That could end up being the difference between them making a tournament or not, because as we've mentioned, ECAC being so low this year, they just don't have a ton of opportunities to make gains in the pairwise. You needed something like this, a big road sweep against a team that is high in the pairwise like North Dakota's, and North Dakota's not as high as they were in the pairwise than they were a couple of days ago, and they won that. North Dakota had Sanderson in the lineup. I mean, they had Gaber was hurt on Saturday, or was it? I think it was Hain was out, got injured on the Friday game, so they were a little, shorthanded, I guess, on Saturday, but they started that Helston as well. And I'm wondering if that was a reaction to Driscoll letting them down with those last 3 goals on Friday. I don't believe it was an injury. I didn't hear anything about it, but so they had their backup in on Saturday, and that couldn't help them turn the tide. But it was for the most part, a full North Dakota team that was on the ice in the weekend. So not the best start for the second half up in Grand Forks. See how they rebound from that.
Yeah, looking up at Driscoll's stats, only 13 saves, 4 goals against on Friday. And, I know, sometimes the defense lets you down and whatnot, but God, you got to have a goaltender have better stats. And North Dakota fans just must be fuming at what's kind of transpired here last.
Is that a transition to fan bases fuming about goalies?
Hey, let's keep this transition train going. I like it. So, see, now I'm guessing myself on everybody's first name.
Don't say Pat. Don't say Pat. Because I think that's what the Huskies announcers were saying when they played him earlier this year. I don't even think he's related to Pat LaFontaine. Might be like a cousin or something, but he's definitely not his kid. So,
yeah. So Jack LaFontaine.
There you go.
Okay, perfect. Foregoes the rest of his college eligibility, signs with the Carolina Hurricanes. And yeah, at first I was really kind of struck back because it's your 5th-year guy, announces he's coming back. So the Gophers' backup goalie transfers out to Wisconsin, try to get some playing. And then, boom, halfway through the season, Gophers are, 10th the pairwise? Somewhere in there. Still in the mix in the Big Ten, and the goalie's just gone. So, I'll finish with my take on it, but what was kind of the first thing that crossed your mind?
I was taken aback as well. Just, we don't see mid-season pro sign like NHL signings too often. I remember, and they said in the article that I read that the last one, and I do remember this, is when Okposo is the last time that a Gopher had left mid-season or signed a pro contract at least mid-season. I remember when that happened.
Yeah, and that was Garth Snow was the GM.
Yeah.
And then blasted Lucia for not developing.
Okay,
And then
forget that.
Yep, and then Lucia kind of responded with, like, it's not our job to develop players. And then Gar Snow, like, the next 2 years, or like a year later, or the year after, drafted Aaron Ness. Went to the Gophers. So it's like, what are you doing? Anyway.
So yeah, it's I mean, and yeah, he was the Richter Award winner last year, which frankly surprised me. I guess I forgot that.
Over Dryden McKay, because everybody else had an asterisk like you do over Dryden McKay's gaudy number.
Well, I'd put an asterisk with his numbers as playing one. Yeah, it's playing the Big Ten last year plus Arizona State. I don't think that was maybe the best competition either.
Who don't you have an asterisk on?
I'm asterisk Andy. You can call me that from now on. And I've just seeing him. I didn't watch him much last year, really at all, except in the tournament. He didn't look all that great there. And then against the Huskies this year, I said on the podcast, I was like, he's not really blowing me away here. He is,
and his stats this year aren't
even 900 save percentage, which is below average, I'm sure. I mean, elite level kind of starts at 92, and this year we got guys in 95% range.
Well, North Dakota would love to have a 900 right now.
That is true. And so not exactly setting the world on fire this year. I was thinking, does he know something about possible cancellations? COVID kind of rearing its ugly head, and he wants to get out and sign a paycheck while it's out there. I mean, just reading the article about, he's getting $90,000 signing bonus. He's probably going to go right to the NHL just because, which surprises me. I didn't know about Carolina's goalie issue right now. That's
down. The thing when you peel the layer. It's fun to speculate about academic probation. Or
I wouldn't think that because he's a grad student. He's not only is this his 5th year playing, it's his. Well, his college career started in 2016. That's 6 years ago. He started at Michigan. He bombed out there, and then transferred to Minnesota. And back then, he had to sit out a year. So he sat out the 18-19 season, and then has played 3 years now, parts of 3 years for the Gophers. So this is his, he didn't play the 18-19 season, but there's been 6 seasons in college hockey since he has started, which also surprised me that they said that Carolina they drafted him in 2016. And I thought the whole thing was, this was the Bobby Geffert rule, the Jimmy Vesey kind of deal. I only thought that you had the draft rights for 4 years. And then it was the June 1st deadline, then anyone could sign him. That was what happened with Vesey and a couple of other guys. That Justin Schultz from Wisconsin had this happen. So I'm like, well, if this is 6 drafts ago, or 5 drafts ago at least. How does Carolina still have his draft rights? I still don't have a good answer about that. Maybe the transfer situation played a factor in that. I don't know why it would necessarily. It sounds like he wasn't signed as a free agent. They signed him as their draft pick because he is going to be a free agent this summer. So he's signing his entry-level deal now. Gets a $90,000 signing bonus. It's a split contract, so he's going to make, boatloads of money, prorated whenever he's on the NHL roster, or probably even the taxi squad, and then significantly less if he's at the AHL, which is probably where he's going to end up most of the time. But he's probably going to be on the roster or the taxi squad like this week and next week maybe. I don't know if he's going to necessarily get into games for Carolina, but they needed some guy. I'm a little conflicted about that. I understand it from his perspective. He's getting a big payday. This is his, he's already grad students. He's already graduated. And I don't like the timing of it. I would be shocked if I was a teammate or someone on the coaching staff, I'd kind of be taken aback by the timing of all this. But so I don't really blame him for taking the money. I probably would do the same thing if I was in his situation. Maybe not the timing, but I'm not going to blame him for for cashing in on, what his life goal is. But I don't know, the idea of Carolina. I mean, that Carolina sent one of their guys, like assistant GMs or something, to the Michigan State series, and then it was that Sunday morning offers him the contract. It's like, really, I mean, it's not like it's not like this is a long-term solution for Carolina. I mean, this is a short-term, we got to put a fire out, we got to have an emergency goalie on roster for the next couple of weeks until our two main guy and our main backup get back healthy. It's like you couldn't find anybody. You had to dip into the college ranks and pluck a guy off a college team in order to do that. For some reason, that doesn't sit very well with me. And the other thing is, I don't think the Gophers are necessarily sunk by this. I think I'd still stand by my prediction that they're going to make the tournament, based on the fact that LaFontaine wasn't setting the world on fire, and I think they have a good defense and a good offense that. I mean, they put 60 shots on net in a game against Michigan State on Saturday. So I think they're well suited, or as well suited as a team can be in a situation like this, to put an unproven guy in net and do fine. I don't think they're going to win the tournament. I didn't think that last week either, but I think they can handle it. I don't really care if they do or don't. Frankly, my gut tells me that I think they're going to be fine, but I don't want this to be a trend. We had there was a Boston University guy that I think signed an ECHL deal. You see those every now and then. That's more common, and a lot of those are grades and academics and can't cut it. Maybe not finding ice time. I'll just sign an ECHL deal. It's these deals where you're going right to the NHL that are relatively rare, and I want them to stay relatively rare, if not non-existent. So I had a lot of thoughts there. I don't know if that made any sense, but what's your take?
No, I don't think it's going to be a commonplace. I mean, these are just kind of rare circumstances, and I think Jack just kind of sees this opportunity, and I don't know how you could pass it up. Where Bob Bosco has even said in the past, like, if you're playing and if you have a chance to actually make it in the NHL, and forego college eligibility, he's going to pack your bags. He said all for it. But if you're going in just to play, muddle around in the AHL for a little bit, it's not. And I think this is kind of a rare circumstance where Frederick Anderson has been injury prone. Rata is completely just doubtful when he is going. So I mean, you're really with Alex Lyon there as the Carolina Hurricanes goalie. The Hurricanes are in a mode, where they've been kind of the surprise team in the NHL for the past. So Alex Lyon, we should also say, former Minnesota, or I guess
won the national title winner with Yale, correct?
Yep.
No, it wasn't him. Malcolm was the guy that won it for Yale, but he might have been their backup. He was after they won. He
went to
title.
Yale.
I know he went to Yale, but he wasn't the goalie when they won the national title.
Okay, so his first year was 13-14.
I think that's right.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll check that, but keep going.
Yeah. So he's got this chance here to actually be on the NHL roster, and who knows, if you get a couple of good strings of games going, you might get a permanent stay up there, because it's not like Frederick Anderson or Antti Rata are stud goaltenders in their own. So, just the comment from Moscow also, just straight up future endeavored him. Just like, that's all he's going to say about it, which I don't expect anything more from that. But this leaves you to the situation now, if you're Minnesota, is people wonder why every once in a while you give your backup goalie a start in, some games. And this is why. Moscow was riding him pretty much, for the past 3 years. And it's, now they're left with Justin Close, who has appeared in just parts of 6 games, over the last 3 seasons. And so it's just, I mean, he came in twice in relief of LaFontaine, so not even started a game yet. So
he did start. They played 2 exhibition games since the beginning of 2020. They played St. Thomas at Doug Woog. I think that's what they're calling Wakota Arena now in South St. Paul. They played an exhibition game randomly against them, and then they also played the U18s. And that Close played. He started both those games. I think he played all those games, the entirety of those games. And that's the experience that he needs.
Yeah, but I do get a kick out of people saying how this shouldn't happen and no other sport allows this to happen, and it's like, welcome to college hockey.
And I agree with you. I don't think that this never has been overly common, and I don't think it will become common. But yeah, I'm surprised. I'm more surprised from Carolina's standpoint that they were so desperate that they needed to do this, that they couldn't find another goalie anywhere else. That they needed to not only do that, but a guy that really isn't doing all that great this year. Maybe they think he's way better than I do. I'm sure they have better. I mean, they have people that their life is scouting, and I'm sure they have more of a hockey knowledge than I do. So, what do I know? I'm just some chump on a podcast. But
let's switch gears back to the Huskies, because a little bit of news came out shortly before cancellation of the Duluth series and whatnot. And that's our own Brett Larson is getting a chance in the Olympics, becoming the associate coach for the Team USA. And, they said that they were going to lean a little bit more on college hockey and college hockey players, because they saw some of that success from last. Some of their best players on that squad were college hockey guys, except Will Borgen, who they shunned from playing, apparently, which really ticked me off back. But it's a great opportunity for him. And on the surface, I was like, hey, this is going to be great for recruiting and whatnot. Having an Olympic coach also. But then, see, it's also Mike Hastings from Mankato. So, okay, fine. That's
well, they can both put it on the resume.
Both. So yeah, heck of an opportunity, and with that as well, Jake Sanderson did announce that he will be accepting an offer to go play in. So it's apparently it hasn't been as hard of a sell to get people or get college players to play for the Olympics. A lot more interest on the players. I don't feel anybody else has really come out and said or confirmed that they were going to play. But I mean, Olympics is still the Olympics. So I think, I don't see anyone on the Huskies getting that chance, but I wouldn't blame anyone if they did. Even though it is a pivotal time of the year and whatnot, but it's literally could be a once in a lifetime shot. I think you got it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know the 2026 Olympics. I mean, we didn't know up until 2 weeks ago whether or not NHLers were going to go. It's probably going to be another thing like that 2026 leading up to that. We're not going to know whether or not NHL is going to commit their players to playing in those Olympics. So this could be the last time, for all we know, that college players and staff make up a portion of the team. So yeah, as you said, this might be the only time that Larson can say, I was on an Olympic staff. Head coach is David Quinn, right? Former BU coach and New York Rangers coach. So he knows the college game as well as the pro game, and big experience for Hastings as well. Hastings has done he's done a head job at the World Juniors. I'm wondering if that's going to be in Larson's future, doing a head coaching gig for the World Juniors at some point down the road. I would probably put money on that, as long as things keep going the way they are so far in his St. Cloud tenure. Yeah, I agree that I don't see St. Cloud losing anybody player-wise for the Olympics, but it's still going to be, that's a bit of a challenge to go without your head coach for maybe the bulk of February. I mean, especially if we're thinking about rescheduling that Duluth series in that off weekend. Probably at least 3 weeks because you got a quarantine coming in and out. Depends too whether or not. I think at the very most, you're looking at the entire month of February that he's going to be gone. But if the Americans don't make, it depends on how far they make in the tournament, and not using pros, they're not going to be, I don't think, as favored to go as far. How did they do in 2018? I mean, they didn't medal, did they? I don't think they did. But so I mean, if they're out relatively early, he might be back by the end of the month, coaching, behind the St. Cloud bench by the end of the month. But I would at least pencil him out for 2 to 3 weeks minimum, if not more. But he'll be back by the playoff time, and I think we've seen the staff. Dave Shayak has a bunch of head coaching experience, with Anchorage, and he was behind Western Michigan's bench as their assistant for a number of years, and he's been at St. Cloud for a couple of years as well, and everything points to the fact that he's really well liked by the players, and I'm wondering if he's going to be the kind of de facto interim head coach. I would imagine so. I mean, Nick Oliver is also going to be, his role will rise with Larson out. So they're kind of co-assistant coach, co-head coach, whatever the title is. I don't think they really even care about that. What the important thing is that the players buy into the system. They like these coaches. I don't think there's going to be any sort of power struggle with anyone, or I think the staff, as led by Larson, kind of instills the rest of the staff to work as a unit. And so I don't think the Huskies are going to suffer from a on ice standpoint about losing your coach, but it's a bit of an adjustment, and everyone's got to kind of step up. Captains have to step up, and also your new coaches, or a different coaching dynamic for that 3 weeks to a month period. And I'm just, like you said, I'm glad that Larson gets this opportunity, and Hastings get the opportunity as well. St. Cloud grad Mike Hastings. So it's good to see some Husky representation, if not from the player side, from the coaching side at the Olympics, representing the country.
The USA lost in the quarterfinals in 2018 to the Czech Republic in a shootout. So that was, where some of the college guys that they went ahead put on that roster, where Troy Terry was just kind of, I would say, kind of the big standout when it comes to it. But you also had, Jordan Greenway and Ryan Donato. Those were the ones that kind of stood out, while you still tried to throw out Brian Gianta. And I think they realized kind of maybe a little bit quickly, like, okay, maybe we should lean on these younger guys.
And you mentioned like Gianta. You mentioned this name earlier, Aaron Ness. I saw that he got an invite to their pre-Olympic camp. Career AHLer, generally. He's north of 30 now, and he's had a couple cups of coffee up in the show. But those are kind of going to be some of the guys that are going to fill out the roster too. Kind of these lifelong AHL guys. So a mix of college studs, and then journeymen and guys that have played overseas and whatnot. It's kind of a ragtag bunch, but I'm excited to see what the team that they are able to assemble, and then how they look on the ice.
Just a couple questions. Surprising weekend off. Any do anything major or whatnot. It was incredibly cold here in Minnesota, so I just stayed at home with 2 kids who were feeling a little bit under the weather, but so nothing major. How about you? Did you have anything when anything was no college hockey to watch for the Huskies? Did you watch any of the other games?
I watched some of the other games. Yeah, I subjected myself to the toilet bowl, as we put it, the CC Miami.
The
series.
CC Miami series. Yeah, there's a reason why we didn't talk.
Watched like I said, I watched most of the North Dakota games. It was a nice weekend. I don't hate me, but it was over 70 degrees this weekend here, so I did get out and go for a run on. I
can't wait. I can't wait till July when I get to ask you what the temperature is.
You can do that.
Be. My wife and I started on Sunday. We started watching Only Murders in the Building.
How's that
on
going?
Hulu? And we've absolutely loved the first 2 episodes, so we can't. It's going to be very hard for us to keep that as a Sunday night ritual and not binge the rest. And did UMD purposely get COVID because Vals was closed for that? And I can't rule it out. I think either that or the fans revolted and gave the players COVID, so they don't have to come to the St. Cloud State Series without Vals. So we'll make sure Vals is good and open by the time next time they come by.
Do some investigating about that. I like the theory.
I like the theory. I like where Dan Jacobson was going with it, because first you hear Vals is closed, and
immediately you're going to something smells wrong here.
Yep. It's our Duluth faithful. They love the Vals. What can I say? Which, I mean, duh, right?
Oh, I think I've made it clear. This is my hottest take ever. I was not a Vals guy. Ducking head.
I'm ending this podcast right now. I don't know.
It might be a burger thing. Like out here in the West Coast, like, have you ever heard of In-N-Out Burger?
Oh yeah.
This is like a cult following. I finally went there, and it was like 11:30 at night. The entire inside was packed. The drive-thru, I was gonna just do drive-thru. The drive-thru was wrapped around the building, so that's why I went inside. It's like 11:30 p.m. And this is not a busy part of town here. But I got the burger. I got the special thing, the double with the fries. I mean, it was a burger and fries. I just was very unimpressed. I mean, it was fine, but nothing that I would write home about. And it kind of reminded me of Vals, because it's like, this is somewhat in that in that ballpark.
In the same vein.
Yeah. So
wow. Okay,
I realize I'm not.
Direct your angry emails to Andrew and not. I do. I'm a big fan, mostly of Val's fries. Their burgers, take or leave. But oh man, their fries and their seasoning on their fries just second to none. That's my.
As long as you like it, that's all that matters.
So that's where my controversial hot take is. If we're gonna go down this controversial fast food St. Cloud realm here, as if you have like Burger Time burgers with the Vals fries, that would be my ultimate combo. And there's not really a good feasible way for that to happen unless you specifically have one person going to Vals and specifically one person at Burger Time, because they are literally on the opposite ends of town.
Yeah.
So, but that's my dream combo, and maybe one of these days I have it.
I'll cross my fingers for you.
I'll keep everyone updated once I am able to do it, and I'll play Ave Maria and just cry because it's going to be so.
Do let me know. Let me know when that happens. Let me know when the miracle happens.
Will do. Well, that about does her. So thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll have hockey games to talk about.
Yep.
And even more, hopefully a Huskies. So until next time, Go Huskies.
Woo!